you don't have to come to standing. I just want to talk about a point where we'll come back to later in the class. And that is something I like to beat to death, which is the anatomy of a fold for the lower back. When we're standing in balanced posture, we have a natural curve going forward in our lower back, going towards our belly button, called the lordotic curve. It's not a huge curve, but it is a curve in there. And it's not so much of a curve that we lose the sacrum into the body and we lose that sense of groundedness. The sacrum still has a sense of groundedness downwards. But the second we bend, we fold. And that could be, Debbie, could you show my whole body? The second we bend, that could be a 2-inch bend. The back starts to lengthen. And it does that without you tucking your butt under, without you pushing T12 back. If we stay in a balanced alignment and bend your knees a couple of inches, ideally through the fascial skeletal connection, the back should straighten. It should straighten out. And when you take a curve like this, take a curve, and you got a point on the top of the curve and the bottom of the curve, and you straighten that curve, those 2 points go further apart. So that's what I mean by the back lengthening. Now, if you do something that bends and you need to let the back straighten and it doesn't, the lumbar and the back muscles are so strong, the lumbar spine jams together. So we need that lengthening of the back when we bend, even a slight 2-inch bend, even a lifting of a heel up. There should be a slight bend. And then if you bend more deeply, the back stays straight, but it gets even longer. It's so important to understand this concept. But then when you get down to a deeper fold, where you're folding more over your thighs, the back has to slightly flex. It's not a big one. It's almost still straight, so that that crease where the ball and socket of the hip joint turns has space, because if your back stays straight and you come down into that, it's going to jam the hips. So that's the anatomy of a fold. When you're standing, you have a natural lordotic curve. When you fold, and a fold could be every time you take a knee up to step forward, the back lengthens. When you fold more deeply, it lengthens and straightens more. But then when you get to a certain point, it has to slightly flex to make room for the hip socket, the ball and socket, to turn on itself smoothly. The other thing it does is it allows all the vertebrae in the lower back to have space, and the joints in that space move beautifully. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because we're going to come back to it later, but one of the best places to work with this waterfall and this kind of movement, even with, I like to do it with kind of a simulation of walking motion, is with the roll under our sacrum on our backs. So that's where we're going to go now, is take the roll under the sacrum. And what you want to remember is to take the tail of the roll on the floor, that's this loose end here, point it towards your heels, because if you have to unroll it, it's much easier to unroll it. Now, what you want to do is take that roll in the center of your sacrum, or even a little bit towards the lower part of the sacrum, towards your coccyx. Just, you can kind of play with that, but you want to have a slight sense of the back hammocking. And then take one hand on your upper belly and one hand on your lower belly, and just begin to rock your pelvis. Now, when you're rocking your pelvis and T12 is going up towards the ceiling and you're rolling down towards the coccyx, you're going into extension. More lordotic curve, deeper than your natural standing balanced lordotic curve. So I call that the crescent moon. It goes a little more deeply. But when you go the other way and round towards the floor, and again, I've taught this over and over again, but it's so crucial. The back goes through a straight period, and then it slightly flexes. And in that flexing, it has to continue to lengthen. So go back and forth. And you go into the crescent moon, and as you slowly come down, you go into that waterfall. And there's a point where